So today we have a very, very special guest with us today. And he's one of the founding members of Christ Emmanuel Community Church. So not many people, especially the young guys, you know him. Okay, so I want to introduce him. His name is Uncle Edison Chua. And he's been here in Canada for 30 plus years now? 40 plus, right? 40 plus years. Yeah, okay. So today we're going to take a peek into his life. How he started here in Canada, what challenges he encountered here, and how he was able to solve this problem. And what made him set up the Christ Emmanuel Community Church, how it started. So today we want to go back to the roots of Christ Emmanuel Community Church. How this idea, the seed was formed for Uncle to be able to set up this church. So my first question to Uncle is, what made you decide to come to Canada? Of all the countries, why did you choose to come to Canada? Okay.
The simple reason is I like to have a new challenge. In Canada, being the new place where idea can work, where hard work still count a lot, and you're on your own and you're free to create things with your minds and your hands. So I took it as a challenge. And I also want my children to have a future that they can work for instead of wait the future to come to them without prepared.
Yeah. Earlier, when you were having dinner, you were telling me, okay, the immigration officer was asking you, why you are having a good life in the Philippines? Why did you come here, right?
Well,
so I was just curious. So what was your answer to him?
I told him, work is nothing fearful to me, but accomplishment is something that I like. And if I stay on, I will be comfortable and new idea would come out and I was forever frozen in the spot.
Yeah.
I can never make advances because if you live alone in some place that is nobody's done before, you
have to rely on
create
yourself.
Create things.
Okay. So that's where
that is the general idea,
right?
brief, and the best way I can describe it. And so when I was no longer a young person, but I said if I don't do it now, the time will be slipping by me soon. So at that time I have young children. I want to get a head start so that they can ride on my headwind, and we can together strive a new territory here in Canada.
So before you were relating to me some of your challenges when you were new here in Canada. And I'm sure you can think of a lot of those problems or challenges that you experienced. Can you give us maybe one or two of those problems when you were new here, right? When you came to Canada, you don't have any network yet or connection, and what sort of challenges did you experience when you came here?
Well, the first thing is you have to start. The first meal, it has to come from somewhere. Nobody will have your dinner ready for you to sit down and have. It has to be created somewhere. And to do that, you have to go backward and say, you have to have work and put food on the table. That's a basic need.
So no one will put food on your table, eh? You have to rely on yourself. Eh?
We did have some good Canadian friends whom I made when I first came to Canada to look at Canada before I commit my whole family to Canada. That was at the advice of the consulate officer. He says, you're comfortable in the Philippines. If you go to Canada, you make sure you're established before you bring your family over. I can always issue them visa, no problem. But you go ahead without them, alone. So any problem, it's easier, not tenfold, fivefold, but in the case of my children. So I took his advice, and that was a very valuable. I came here, I got a job, salary paying job. Little did I realize that the job was being a life insurance agent. The most difficult job you can find, that you have so many turnover every year. And I worked there. But the interviewer told me, we can give you a draw for 3 months in order for you to get established. The draw means you can get salary, every allowance for living, you need the minimum. We give you the minimum amount, and then when you are established, you can write policy, then we pay you the full salary. So I said, that's fine with me, but let's do it this way. I will not take the draw. I have resources for a few months of my own. I have some saving that I brought over $2,000. I think I can survive on that because I was born with my aunt in Northern Wales. And then when I am established, I said, you can pay me whatever I owe you before. The policy belongs to me. Because at that time, insurance agent, they are very well rewarded. For every policy you write, created the whole life, you get 70% first 2 years commission. So okay. And on that basis, I work. I write a few policies, including to my own relatives here, friends here, and that helps me. So we went back to the Philippines, and I put out of my mind the idea of coming to Canada at that time for a while, because we were children born there, and we wait for something that will give us the last push out of the door to come to Canada. At that time, the martial law in the Philippines was about to be declared. And we went into a situation where every morning there was a demonstration in Malacanang Palace against Marcos, and they would go through our street and bang at our door and shout all those slogans. And I was kind of concerned. Hey, this is no situation for my children and family to grow up in. Maybe Canada is the greener pasture for us.
I see.
So we made up our mind to come, and I went to the Canadian immigration, and right away they issued me the visa. We brought here 3 young girls, 3, 2, 1, and our son was a few months in the stomach of Nati and a maid. The immigration also issued for maid to come with us, and we came to Canada. And the good people in Canada set us up on our first house, and we put the furniture there. Some of them has extra furniture, sofa, bed. So we came here without having to suffer anything. And then we get established. So this is how my first step in Canada. And it was very pleasant. I recall we found this. It is the promised land for us.
So I want to go to that. I remember you mentioned to me. Okay. So how did you transition from being an employee from the insurance company to become in business here in Canada?
Well, before I came, I already had experience in business. I run an import company. I run my own export company, and I also have a factory manufacturing. And at that time, I was not even 40. I was 38, 39. And by the way, I was also invited to join the board of the Philippine Bible Institute in Silang, Cavite. And that is because I was supplying electrical to Far East Broadcasting. So I know, because I was educated in the United States, my English at that time was, I would say, above
average.
Average. So I can communicate and I can do things, and I can answer questions that people understand without difficulty. So when I come here, I have that advantage, and it wasn't hard for me to get established here. And I went back to work for the insurance company, and I started doing business. I remember the first big policy I wrote is for a young doctor intern from Hong Kong. I called him. He was the only one among many I called that didn't slam the phone on my ear. He said, "Oh yes, you come. I'll be ready 7 o'clock." And I went to see him, and he asked me, "What's the best for me?" I told him, "You write a policy as an endowment. You pay yourself back when you are retired, and all this money will come back to you, invested with interest and all this thing." And he took my policy. The policy, my first year commission was almost $35,000. That was a rain fall from heaven. I didn't expect that. And from that time, I was established with Canada Life. But I was not restful working in insurance because I'm not very good in taking no for answer. You call 10 people, and 9 of them will tell you no, and the one that said maybe, it's hard. So I keep all the time I look for opportunity to do my own business here. And it came when I was walking in the Queen Street looking at things. One of the luggage people selling luggage tell me, "Can you do this for me?" He's a small businessman, but even small at that time was big for me. And I called my brother-in-law in Manila, make me some hanger for his luggage, metal hanger that he can go in a suitcase. And then I started from there. My company grew. I registered a company called Dominion Orient Enterprising Service. That's how I started business. And another chance that the Lord showed me is when my neighbor in the townhouse we live in compound, the next door neighbor was sending his children and wife home temporarily because he already bought a new house and cannot move in until it's finished. And here he had to vacate the house. And at that time, Nati and the girl were coming back from the Philippines with our young son, Larry, who was born here in Canada. So we had one room vacant. I talked to my neighbor one night. I said, "What happened? I don't see your children anymore and your wife." He said, "Oh, he had explained to me why. I sent him back to their parents in Peterborough or something." And then we started talking. And I said, "I have an extra bedroom. You can come and stay there I can give you breakfast in the morning, coffee, but dinner you take care of. I cannot do anything. I had a maid, but she doesn't cook. She doesn't know how to cook. He said, "Are you sure I'm not? That's not too much." I said, "Well, it happened that they are not here. Make use of it." So he moved in and stayed with us for a few days. And then when his house is ready, I'm sorry. When the house is ready, he moved out. But before that, he asked me what I do. And I explained to him I came here and doing business and all these things. Oh, so you know anything about importing? I said a little bit. I do a lot of importing in the Philippines. He says, "Come to see me. Maybe I can show you somebody in our company." I said, "Okay." I work for Sears Robot, Canada. I said, "Okay." I said, when I wear my ear perked out, I said, "Whoa, how can I ever get my foot in the door of this company?" But he said, "Come and see me. I will introduce you to some of my colleagues in the different department, and a good chance is some of them might need something that you can source for them." Well, I couldn't wait for the next morning, the sun to come out. I went to put on my best and I went to Sears. And then he showed me some of the colleagues in the same floor, or this bedding, this one's finishing, this one is kitchen, all this thing. And one of them showed me a sample of some plastic mattress that they wrap the mattress because to prevent the smell with the old mattress, especially when you have kids, they wet it. Instead of throwing the mattress away, they just put a new mattress cover on it, and you have a usable.
It's a mattress protector.
It's just like rope, in other words. And he said, "You source for me." And at that time, I already have contact in Taiwan, because before I came here, we import from this same my contact in Taiwan, the machine to run my mosquito net manufacturing. And the guy jumped on the bike, and then in a week's time, he sent me back the sample, exactly packed with Sears robot thing, everything in there. And the buyer couldn't believe it. I said, "Okay, now quote me." And I was very fearful that I might show him a price that he was just "Are you kidding?" or whatever. So I gave him a very reasonable and low. I add in about 10% as profit, and I submit to him. And he looked at it and says, "If I want to buy from you and establish a long-term contract, I want you to stay in business. Are you making money on this price?" He asked me like that. I said, "Yes, I have 10%. He said, "You can add more. We can absorb it." So he gave me extra 15%. And the first order, but make sure if you want to be a long-term supplier, you have to be dependable. When the time that the store calls for your merchandise, you have to deliver. You cannot say, "I'm out of stock." No, because our items are all printed in Sears summer and winter catalog, and we can't miss it. Okay, all right, I'll try to do that. And so he gave me an order, a big order. I'm so happy, and then from that on, it just kept turning.
It kept booming.
Kept moving. And then one department was said, hey, that guy is pretty good. He's dependable. He sorts up for us. And also, at that time, I bought my own warehouse. And so I can put all his merchandise, entire whole van of merchandise and load there. And from there, I shipped to Montreal, the warehouse distribution in Montreal, and Winnipeg, in Vancouver, and all this, and Toronto, of course. And things that I'm used to it, they get used to me, and we work it out very well. So the order kept coming in, and new order from different departments coming in China where I want this and this. So, and all the time, I was working on a very low overhead because I don't hire anybody. I was myself. And sometimes he said, midnight, he's not home yet because he was still in the warehouse preparing for the shipment to go out tomorrow. But when you are young and when you need to put bread on the table for the kids, your incentive is very strong. You work hard. And the Lord was very good to me. He gave me good health and I managed. So all in all, I'm very thankful that things went out at the start that way for me.
So aside from Sears, did you consider expanding your clients aside from Sears?
One man is hard to expand. Okay. When Sears buy from me, at that time, Ethan also, I used Sears as a leverage. Yes. I talked to Ethan. Ethan said, okay, we want this.
Yes.
And then I also talked to Simpson. Simpson, Bay. And then part of them from Canadian Tire. So, and I was becoming so busy. I don't have time for anything else. Dinner. Sometimes midnight I come home for
midnight.
But I work hard. But only took a few years, and I'm doing well. And the Lord's been very good to us from then on.
So I just want to fast forward. Okay? So when from the time you came to Canada and then you adjusted pretty well, okay? And then you were established in business, very short period of time. You sort of doing very well already. So I'm just curious how did you had the opportunity to start a church here in Canada?
Well, the church was not initiated by me as such. I was going at that time to People's Church, and that was my mother's and my pastor in the Philippines command. Nowhere to go except People's Church because the other churches are all Cantonese speaking and you'll be lost there. So go to People's Church. So Nati and I, we took the kids. They go to Sunday school, and then I even sing in the choir of a People's Church. So that's, and then about 15 years later, a friend, Robert Lim, from our church, he was in People's Church too. He came to see me. He said, I saw there is a church from the people in the Philippines that's here, and it's called Overseas. Overseas. I said, you come, but I am already People's Church. We are all in People's Church, and even the people is trying to interview me to be a candidate of the elder there, and I said to move. I don't have that. I don't think I should. This is my home church, even though it's not from the Philippines, but I'm so used to it. My kids were baptized there, but he come many times. Robert Lim. Finally, I agreed to come with him on one Sunday, and when I went to the church, this overseas, I met people that I've known way back in Manila. One of them is Gok Siang, Suto Gok Siang.
Oh, Eligio. Suto Gok Siang. Yeah.
Yes, and also Victor.
Oh, he was in People's Church at that time.
You know, overseas. And you know what? On the second Sunday, I went again, and there were election, and Mr. Lim was elected the president. I was elected the vice president. That's how it started. He's always the president, I vice president, because we are the only two with suits. We wear suits to church. Anyway, that's joking. But from there, in that church, and I asked her to join us from People's Church. I don't know. I didn't know whether it was the right decision or not, but we should have worshiped together since I already got nailed down by them as the vice president, and I registered that church for overseas. The registration paper is with me. I did all this paperwork.
And then at that time, approximately how many members in the congregation?
Oh, about 30, 35. And they're starting an inflow of people from Taiwan that speak Mandarin. And it didn't take long for that to become a problem because the people from Taiwan became more dominant than the non-Taiwanese Chinese from the Philippines. They can sing in the choir, they can do a lot of things. That's more better in a way, better. And then it started to build up resentment and friction. And then start to talk about this church is not for non-Phukinese speaking, it's for only Phukinese speaking service. We cannot use Mandarin. That was the thing they were arguing back and forth. And end up with the church split. And I stayed with the group with Taiwanese and a few from the Philippines, and then we started to come here to our house for Sunday service in the backyard. Yeah, that's how it started.
So after the split, how many left in your group when you did the split?
Maybe 12, 13.
Yeah. And they do the service here in the backyard.
Yes.
That's
yes. And then we moved to another house, James Chen, in Bayview and Prince area. He has a bit bigger church and easier for people to get there with the bus, running in Bayview and Prince. I'm in Markham. It's harder. Yeah, that's how this church started. And as you know, every time a group of people from different backgrounds come together, there's always bound to have some friction. We and the Taiwanese, the one that we start to have problem, and I don't know how it erupted until we were celebrating the first anniversary, and I was at that time we don't have any pastor, so I double as the required
choir conductor.
So we singing,
Conductor?
singing, and interpreter, and they speak in Mandarin into English, or English to Mandarin, and all this thing. But it didn't last long. The people, then we split up again. This time, I started from the remnant of a church and started the Chinese Evangelical Church of Canada, because this is the church that I came from, that my grandparents in China started 100 plus years ago. And then it's a church that is went over to the Philippines and had a Chinese Evangelical Church there. And I know if we have this name, Chinese Evangelical Church, a lot of people from Manila coming here will see the name and they come, and surely it follows. People. But I had personal problem that I couldn't continue to carry on, and I have neglected my own affair to the point that a lot of my business get affected. I lost a lot of money, and it was at the wrong time for me to be in that position, because my children was coming to college, going to college one after the other, and I have to do something to get my boat from rocking. And so I leave it the church to the other people to run. So a lot of people didn't see me until many years later when I come back. That is when already things I have recovered. I lost 75% of what I had before, and I almost going bankrupt. But I recovered. The Lord has been good to me. And the church by itself is, I make sure before I go, I elect a new officer to take over the Chinese Evangelical Church before I leave. And I don't want to tell anybody, because I cannot resign. Who do I resign to? There is no board, there is no person in charge. So my name was not in the candidates list. So when they vote, my name, that way, my name was not in the board. So when the board is elected, everybody has a position there. I remember Carlos, this Benediction, Guido, and all this. They all have a position, and I know these people are very dependable and they can run the fair. And that's when I leave the church to mind my fair. And the Lord has been good to this church. That's how all these things put down in a nutshell.
So I'm just going to recap. Christ Emmanuel Chinese Evangelical Church of Canada is already the second split, right? From overseas.
Yes.
Another split, and then
the second split. Yes.
The Chinese Evangelical.
Yeah. The second split is called Kaikoden. Is Kaikoden in English? What is that?
Is it Triumph?
Triumph. We have a Chinese name. Insists to be included from the Taiwan group. So although it's Chinese Evangelical Church, but there's a Triumph, Kaikoden. That's why when those group leave as the one from Taiwan, a Triumph group, we change. I went make sure. I called. I call a meeting. At that time, we don't have any board in China. I make a board, temporary board. Me, Guido, Sammy Lee, and then we vote to take the name Triumph out of the Chinese Evangelical Church. So it's just purely Chinese Evangelical Church of Canada. And then from there we start new. And to avoid, the property was that later on acquired, to avoid this Triumph group to have anything to claim on, they changed it to community, how do you call it, Evangelical?
Christ Emmanuel.
Yes,
Christ Emmanuel
that's why they changed that name. Same syllable, same
Yes.
yeah. That's all technical. And it seems like not very long ago, but it's good, well, 40 years, 30 years.
It seems like you're still fresh in your mind, right? It seems like yesterday only, right?
Well, when I was here, I turned 40. I thought my good days was over. I remember I told my wife, before I even start, I said, gee, I've done so much in the Philippines already. Here we are in a new territory, and I'm turning 40. My good days are behind me. But the Lord didn't let me down. He carried me together.
So, if you are to advise the younger generation, maybe those in the high school or in the university, what would be your number one advice to them? If they're starting their career, what should they focus on, and how should they begin? You know, like a lot of them are still confused at this stage, especially the new graduate. They don't know where to go, right? So what would be your advice to them?
A lot of young people have a common mistake of hanging around with all young people, and they talk about things only apply to them. That's the hot topic. But sometimes you have to turn your focus to life and listen to people that has been a trouble down the road ahead of you and see what they have to say. Some of them might utter a phrase or say a few words that is utterly important to turn your direction toward the right place. And just like me, when I came, I experienced that. I was going to head for Montreal at that time in Canada, but at the bus, I was sitting to Vancouver and riding a cross-country bus to Toronto, to Montreal. And I ran into a fellow traveler, an elderly man, and we get into talking. I'm a young man, where you come from? I came from the Philippines. Oh, what are you doing here? I just moved here. I want to settle down in this country. Oh, that's good. Where are you headed? Montreal. Montreal? But you speak English. Do you speak French then? You speak French? I said, what do I need to do to speak French? He said, because if you go to Montreal and speak very limited English or French, you're not going to go anywhere. You just tie your one hand back and to fight. You can't. I advise you go to Toronto. That's where you should head for. That's the biggest tip. The life-changing point of my life is there. So at Thunder Bay, I went in the ticket bus, the Greyhound ticket office, and said, I want to reroute my route to Toronto. I get a reroute and $2 refund, I remember. So I took the bus. Oh, that's a long ride, because coming from the other side of Canada, west, through the prairie, through the, we were not so many drivers, but the journey turned out the right one at the right time. The Lord's guidance. I came down and I remember even though I didn't realize it, that my aunt, my uncle, my cousins, they are already here in Toronto. The Soto, the one that has this church in, they are 1 year ahead of me. And I said, I'm here, can I bump with you? Sure, come in. So I stayed with them for 2 months while I look for a job. And that's where I find the job in Canada alive. And the rest is, this story, when I think about it, it just bring me fun memory. How everything seemed to turn at the right time, the right juncture.
It's amazing how God opened the door for you.
That's right. Yeah. And also, it's this man I listened to. We got into talking. I didn't say, why do I want to bother with this old man? What did he get from it? He has something that I can, that's very, very vital to me. And that was at that time when he said,
that was the best advice, huh?
Yes, don't go there. If I were you, I'll go to Toronto. If I were you. And I responded, yes, I will. So I did.
So praise God that I was able to have the opportunity to talk to you. As you know, Uncle, I enjoy every moment to speak to you because I learn a lot every time I come here. Our church is very fortunate to have you because you are one of the founders. Because of your vision, today we can all come together as one big family, spiritual family.
The Lord be praised.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.